This is the final look of a beautiful female sutana with 4-corner neckline. This is the back side of the sutana. This is the front sleeve. This is the back sleeve. You can see the pleats we have at the back of the sleeve. We have pockets. This is the pocket. This is the zipper. It's a concealed zipper. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And if you are new here, this is Reggie School of Fashion. If you have been following me on this Sutana series, you will know that we have one more step to complete our 4-corner female sutana, which is drafting, cutting, sewing and attaching of the sleeve with pleats and curve, as this will be our focus in today's tutorial. I do hope you've watched the previous episodes of this Sutana series, because as at the time I'm shooting this video you are watching, I have 5 beautiful videos on a playlist pertaining to these celestial garments, which are how to make a standing sutana cap, how to fix a side pocket on sutana, how to attach a concealed zipper on the sutana, and how to make a female 4-corner neckline sutana part 1 and 2. If you are here to watch these videos, kindly take your time to check them out so that you'll be able to catch up with this particular episode. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, so that you will be up to date on every content I drop on this channel. My name is Bolaji and this is Reggie School of Fashion. A female sutana sleeve is divided into 2 parts. The first part is a basic sleeve, while the second part is the cuff. So which means in drafting a female sutana sleeve, I will be needing my basic sleeve pattern. So if you don't know how to draft a basic sleeve pattern, or you are not sure if you are drafting it in the right way, I've already made a provision for this. There is no cause for alarm. I have a full tutorial, detailed and well explained videos on how to draft a basic sleeve pattern. It is a master class. The video is divided into 2 parts, part 1 and 2, where you will learn everything that has to do with a basic sleeve pattern. So the link to the videos will be available in the description box under this video. So this is my basic sleeve pattern. I already have my seam allowances all around the pattern. Measurement I have from this point to this point is my wrist measurement. The wrist measurement I'm using is 8.5 inches, and this point is the center of my sleeve. Don't forget, the back and front has to be together. When you watch this video, you will understand and know the reason why you have to draft the two together. So this is the front sleeve and this is the back sleeve, and this is the center of the sleeve. So the measurements I have from this point to this point is my wrist measurement. The wrist measurement I'm using for this particular project is 8.5 inches. So I will mark the point. So this is 8.5. So which means for now I will be ignoring this line I have here, which is the seam allowance line. So I'll be ignoring this line for now. So from this point to this point is the wrist measurement. So that's the wrist measurement point. Then on the sleeve head, I have my seam allowance of 0.5, that is half of an inch added, which I will still be maintaining because I'm not doing much work on the upper part of the sleeve. In order to grade this basic sleeve pattern, the first thing I will be doing is to reconstruct the side of the sleeve because of the seam allowance I added on the pattern. So this is my wrist measurement point, and this is the point of the sleeve head. So I will be reconnecting the 2 points together in order to trim off the seam allowance, like so. Okay. Then I'll be repeating the same process on the other side. After reconstructing the side of the sleeve, then I will trim it off. Now I'm trimming off the side of the sleeve, which I reconstructed earlier. And the other side as well. Then on the wrist of the pattern, I have my seam allowance as well, which I will be trimming off. So now this is my basic sleeve pattern. The only place I have my seam allowance is the sleeve head, because I'm not grading around the sleeve head. Okay, so after this step, this is the fabric I'm using. I folded the fabric into two because I will be having two sleeves, one for the left hand side, the other one for the right hand side, the two sleeves for the two arms. So that was why I folded my fabric into two, and as you can see, my pattern is for both front and back. So once I cut these two out, so which means I will be having the two sleeves for two arms at the same time. So I'll position my pattern in such a way it will fall at the middle of my fabric. So when you are folding your fabric, you have to put in mind the seam allowance you'll be needing. So which means you must have like 2 inches on both sides of the pattern. This is my pattern which I've pinned together with the fabric. So the first thing I will be doing is I will be adding to the measurement I have on the wrist because of the pleat that will be on the sleeve. So the value you will be adding has to do with the number of pleats you want to have on your sleeve. You can have 2 pleats, you can have 1, and you can have 3. You can have as much as you want. So for the sake of this tutorial, I will be adding 2 pleats on my sleeve. And each pleat is 1 inch. So which means in total, I will be having 3 inches. So I want to add 3 inches to the wrist. In short, I want to add 3 inches to the wrist measurement. So whatever value you are adding, it has to be divided on both sides of the sleeve. Both the front and the back will share the value. If you want to add 4 inches, so which means I will divide the 4 into 2, 2 inches here and 2 inches here. I want to have 3 inches, so I will be having 1.5 inches on this side and 1.5 inches on the other side, which is back and front. So if I had 3 inches, okay. Okay, I want to make it 2 inches. 2 inches. Then I'll come to the front side and add the same 2 inches. Then I will be connecting these 2 inches points to the sleeve head. I will be connecting the other side as well. Then I will reconstruct the wrist. So I'll be extending this line to meet the new line I drew. So the next step is to trace the sleeve head on the fabric. I already have the two sides traced out already. So I'll be tracing out the sleeve head because I'll be removing the pattern. I've marked out the center of the sleeve on the sleeve edge and on the wrist. So I've shaped out the sleeve edge so I can remove my pattern. The next step is to apply the pleat on the sleeve. The pleat is usually on the back side of the sleeve. So this is the back and this is the front. So whatever I have from here to this point, which is the middle of the sleeve, I will take the measurement again in order to be very sure, and I will get the midpoint. Okay, so that is the midpoint. So the measurement for my sleeve is 3 inches, and I want to have only 2 pleats on my sleeve. So which means each of my pleats will take 1.5 inches. So when I fold the pleats, it will be 0.75. So from this point forward, I want a distance of half of an inch. If you don't want distance of half of an inch, you can make it a distance of 1 inch. So that is how much you want your pleat to be far away from the center of the sleeve. So you can make a distance of half of an inch or a distance of 1 inch. So I'll be making a distance of 1 inch. So which means I will not start pleating from the center of the sleeve. I've moved the pleats forward by 1 inch. Don't forget, the measurement is coming towards the back side and not the front. We don't have any business with the front for now. We are working on the back side of the sleeve. So from the center of the sleeve to this point is 1 inch. So this 1 inch measurement has nothing to do with the value I'm using for my pleats. So after this, I will be taking half of an inch, which is 0.1 of my pleat. After the half of an inch and 1.5 inches, how much do you want your 2 pleats to close? So this is your own decision. How much do you want the pleats to close, or how much do you want it to be far away from each other? So for easy understanding, let me come again. I will be using my red chalk this time around for easy understanding in order to indicate the markings. So from this point, this line is the center of the sleeve. From this center, I measured 1 inch forward, which I marked with my red chalk. So I don't want my pleat to start exactly at the center of the sleeve. That was why I measured 1 inch forward. So from this 1 inch, I will measure 1/2 of the value I added for my pleat. I just remembered now that I added 4 inches for my pleat. So which means each pleat will be 2 inches. And I want to measure out for the first pleat, which is 2 inches. So from the 1 inch point, I will measure 2 inches forward. So this is the 2 inches point. After that, I will be taking another half of an inch. That is the distance that will be in between the pleats, because there should be a little space in between the pleats so that the pleats will not overlap each other. So you can make this 0.75 if you don't want it to be that close, but for me, I prefer using half of an inch. So that is the point. So from this half of an inch point, I will be taking measurement for the second pleat, which is 2 inches. Then this is what I have. So this is settled. Then I will add my seam allowance on the sides. So I'm adding 1 inch seam allowance. Then I will be adding my seam allowance on the wrist as well. But before adding the seam allowance, I will be pleating the pleat I will be having here, so that I will not have a shortage when I'm stitching. Can you see what I have? I took the two pieces together and pleat. So this is the point I picked my pleat, from the 1 inch point to the 2 inches point. And I secured it with pin. So this is the first pleat. Now I'm making the second pleat. Okay, now I have my two pleats on the sleeve, as you can see right now. So after watching this video and you really understand this, please, you can do this on your pattern. Instead of transferring your basic sleeve pattern on the fabric, you can transfer it on another fresh pattern paper. Then you do all gradings on the new pattern paper. But because I want you guys to understand and make it real for you, that is why I decided to do this on my fabric, because actually I don't like having much markings on my fabric. But just for you to understand, do this on the fabric we are cutting out. So that was why I'm doing this on the fabric directly. So after you watching this video, you understand it, you can do this on a fresh pattern paper before cutting out your fabric. So after grading, all you need to do is just place your pattern on the fabric and cut out. Okay, so as I've pleated the sleeve, I will now add my seam allowance. So the seam allowance I needed on the wrist is 1/2 inch, because I will be joining this together with the cuff. So I'm adding the 1/2 inch downward. So by the time I'm attaching this, there will not be shortage. So with this, I can start cutting out the sleeve. So please, I did something on the wrist area, which if I don't explain, you will not know. What I did was, when I connected the seam allowances together, from here I measured 1/2 inch downward. At this point as well, I measured 1/2 inch downward. When I get to this side also, I measured 1/2 inch downward. I did not measure downward on the pleats I have. I took my ruler and I connected the 2 points together like so. I have a straight line. So when I position my ruler to connect this to this, what I will be having from the wrist downward will be more than 1/2 inch. So I have to position my ruler in such a way these 2 points must connect. So you must not have a sharp point around here or a midpoint. So it must be a continuous straight line. So that was what I did. I make sure I have a continuous straight line that aligned together with the line I drew out earlier. So that was why I have the line like so. You can see, if you look at it closely, you will see what I have from here to from this point to this line is more than half of an inch. So that is not an issue, it is just to balance that area. So now I'll be cutting out the sleeve, starting from the wrist area. So now I can open up the pleats and continue cutting out the sleeve. So can you see what I have around here? You can see the shape is not on a straight line. If I did not pleat, I will have it as a straight line. So when I'm attaching this, there will be a shortage around this place. I already have my seam allowance on the sleeve head. So if you don't have your seam allowance on your basic sleeve pattern, don't forget to add. This is very important. So now I have the two sleeves cut out together at the same time, as you can see. So the next step is to place notches on my sleeve. So firstly, I'll be placing notches on the pleat point. So this is the 1 inch point. This is where my pleat is starting. Then I will place my pleat on the second pleat point, which is the 2 inches from here. So which is this point. Okay. So this is the distance point, the half of an inch point. I'm placing notches at the point as well. Then the second pleat point, which is the 2 inches. I'm placing notches at that point as well. Then I'll place notches on the seam allowance. Okay. Also the center of the sleeve. I'm picking the two pieces together. So with this I can easily indicate. So with this I can easily indicate the center of my sleeve. So now I'll be pleating the sleeve and I'll be separating the two pieces. So the part I have markings on this is the wrong side of the sleeve. So this is the right side of the sleeve. That is the right side facing the right side. So for the second piece, I've placed a markings on the wrong side. So this is going to be the wrong side. It is not the matter of choice now. It is the matter of the positioning. So this is the way I position my sleeve. So it has to be either right side facing the right side or the wrong side facing the wrong side, because we have the difference between the front and the back sleeve. So this is not the matter of choice. I choose this to be the right or I chose this to be the back. So it has to be the right side facing the right side or the wrong side facing the wrong side. So if you don't have any markings on your fabric, immediately after cutting out with pattern, quickly indicate by marking the wrong side of your fabric so that you will know this is the wrong side and this is the right side. So the positioning of my fabric has distinguished this is the right side facing the right side. So I turn this over and mark this as the wrong side. Now I will be pleating the sleeve one after the other, and this has to be done on the right side of the sleeve. So I'll be turning this to the right side. So this is the center of the sleeve. This is a 1 inch point. This is a 2 inches point for the pleats. So this is half of an inch distance point. And this is the second 2 inches point for the pleats. So the pleat will be towards the back of the sleeve. This is the front and this is the back. So I'll be pleating the same way I showed you when I was cutting out the sleeve. So this is the first pleat, and I will secure it with pin. So the second pleat, so this is the second pleat. I'm securing it with pin as well, and I will take it to my ironing board and give it a good press. Now I've pleated the first sleeve, and I'll be repeating the same process on the second sleeve. So after which I will take the two sleeves to my ironing board and give it a good press. After giving my pleat a good press, this is what I have, as you can see. So the next step is to cut out the cuff. Here is the cuff I drafted out. So this is the wrist measurement. Because the fabric has to be on fold when constructing a cuff, that was why I folded my pattern into two in order for you to understand. So this is the center of the cuff. So this is the center of the cuff. The measurement I have from this point to this point is the wrist circumference measurement I'm using. So that is what I have on the sleeve as well. The two has to build the same thing so that there will not be issue when joining them together. And the wrist circumference measurement I'm using is 8.5 inches. So I will make sure I have 8.5 inches on the wrist plus the same allowance all around. You can also do this directly on your fabric if you wish. It is not a serious drafting. Just take the measurements accurately, then you cut it out. Then for the height of the cuff, that is how long I want the cuff to be. You can make your cuff to be 3 inches height. You can make it 3.5. You can make it 4 inches. So the standard measurement is between 2.5 inches to 4 inches. 2.5, 3 inches, 3.5 and 4 inches. But you have to take note of this. Whatever measurement you are using for your cuff height has to be subtracted from your sleeve length measurement. The measurement I took for this pattern is the measurement from the center of the shoulder to the wrist. So when I was drafting this pattern, I subtracted the height of the cuff I will be using so that it will not be too long after attaching. So if you are using 3 inches, when you are drafting your basic sleeve pattern, you will subtract that 3 inches from the sleeve length. If you are using 4 inches, the same thing. If you are using 2.5 inches, the same thing. Now I've cut out the pieces I will be using in cutting out my cuff. So the cuff will be in two as well. So the measurement of my wrist is 8.5 inches. Then I will be needing 1 inch on both sides. So which means in total, I will have 9.5 inches on the wrist. And also for each piece, it has to be on fold. So the height I'm using for my cuff, if it is 3 inches, so I will fold this into 2. So that means I will be having 6 inches. I will be measuring 6 inches for the cuff height. So when I fold it into 2, I will have my 3 inches back. Then I will add seam allowance, so which will make it 3.5 inches. So which means if I'm cutting on a single piece, I will measure 7 inches downward, like so. So this is 7 inches. Then I will have my wrist measurement on this line, which is 8.5 plus extra half of an inch. So plus extra half of an inch on both sides, so that is 1 inch in total. So 8.5 plus 1 inch, that is 9.5 inches. So at the upper part as well, I will be having the same 9.5. So what I have like a rectangle here is my cuff. So by the time I fold this into two, I will have it like so. So can you see what I have? So the folded part is going to fall on the wrist. And I'll be cutting this out. So I'll be using this as a pattern to cut the second cuff. I've cut out the two pieces for the cuff. As you can see, I have two pieces here. So this is what I have when I cut out, and I folded it into two and gave it a press. So the folded side, which I said earlier that is going to be on the wrist. So this is how the curve will stay on the wrist. So can you see what I have? Like so. Then I fused the wrong side of the cuff as well in order to help the fabric staying well on body. So I fuse it with a very soft fusible interfacing. This is the soft one. So I fuse the whole of the cuff before folding it into two and give it a good press. Now it's time to construct the sleeve and attach it to the bodice. And I will start by securing the pleats I have on the sleeve. Now I've secured the pleats I have on the sleeve. This is the two sleeves. So the next step is to attach the cuff together with the sleeve. And in attaching the cuff to the sleeve, I will be joining the sides of the sleeve together, like so, the right side facing the right side. Then I will stitch from the wrist line upwards like 3 inches length and stop. So this is the wrist and this is the side of the sleeve. So I'll be joining the sides together. So after folding like so, I will take the measurement of the wrist to confirm my measurement. So I will make sure I have up to my wrist circumference measurement. Okay, I have the points notched already, so there is no need of marking. So from this point, I will stitch upward. Now I'm joining the side of the sleeve together. So I'm not joining all through. I will stop at this point. You can stop at any point around 3 inches upward. So now I'll be repeating the same process on the second sleeve, right side facing the right side. And I'll also confirm my measurements on the second sleeve. So I will make sure I have my wrist circumference measurements. So I will make sure I have the wrist circumference measurement I'm using for this project. So after joining the sides of the sleeve, I will also be joining the sides of the cuff. So this is the cuff which I ironed out with flexible interfacing, and I'll fold it right side facing the right side. I will be joining the sides together with my seam allowance of 1/2 inch. So can you see the positioning of my cuff? So this is what I have when I ironed it out. So I open it up like so. I did not join together on fold. I open it up before folding into two. So can you see? So this is what I did. Then I will be joining by the side with 1/2 inch. I'm joining with 1/2 inch because I added 1/2 inch as my seam allowance. So if you add more than 1/2 inch, you should join with the amount of seam allowance you added. After joining the sides together, this is what I have. This is the cuff and this is the sleeve. So the next step is to join the cuff together with the sleeve. In attaching the cuff to in joining the cuff together with the sleeve will be on the right side, like so. Then I will pick one side of the cuff to face the sleeve, and the positioning is the right side of the cuff facing the wrong side of the sleeve. So this is the right side of the sleeve. The inside of the sleeve is the wrong side. This is the wrong side of the cuff, and this is the right side of the cuff. So the right side of the cuff facing the wrong side of the sleeve, as if the two are kissing, like this. So can you see the cuff will be on its own separately, while the sleeve also will be standing separately on its own. Then I will open up the seam I have by the side and secure this together with my sewing pin. Then I will continue pinning the two together, as you can see me doing. So after pinning, then I will stitch all around with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now I'm joining the cuff and the sleeve together. So after joining, this is what I have. Can you see how the sleeve looks like? So this is the seam allowance. I'll be taking this to my ironing board. I will give it a good press in order to make the seam allowance lay flat on the cuff. So after which I will open up the seam allowance I have by the side of the cuff. I will also give it a good press to make it flat. So after that, I will now fold my cuff over like so in order to cover up the seam allowance. So I'll give it a good press. So I'll have something like this. Then in order to finish the edges of the cuff, I have extra half of an inch on that, so which I will fold inward as well, and I'll give it a good press. So I'll be doing this off the camera on the first and the second sleeve. So I'll be back to show you the results. So guys, this is what I have after ironing the cuff. Can you see it's looking flat and neat? And I iron in half of an inch, which I will be using in finishing the edges of the cuff all around. So in finishing the edges of the cuff all around, this can be done in different ways. You can run stitches all around the cuff in order to finish it, and you can use a blind stitches. If you have the function on your sewing machine, blind stitches function, you can use it. If you don't have it, you can use a manual stitches, blind stitch with needle and thread to finish the edges of the cuff. And you can use a quality hemming tape as well. Please, if you want to use an hemming tape to finish the edges, make sure it is a quality one, because if the hemming tape is not quality enough, it will open up as time goes on. So this is what I have, and I will be applying one of this process in finishing the edges. This will be done behind the camera. So the next step is to attach the sleeve together with the sutana to make it a complete sutana. So now I will be attaching the sleeve together with the bodice. So this is the bodice we constructed in the previous part. In case you get lost, we have done this in the previous part of this video. If you are here to watch the video, kindly check the description box. The link to the video is available in the description box so that you can catch up with us. So this is going to be the positioning: the right side of the sleeve facing the right side of the bodice. So please, when you are positioning this, make sure you put in mind the back and the front. The sleeve has the front and it has the back. So likewise the bodice as well, it has the front and it has the back. So with the positioning of your darts, the dart lengths, you can easily differentiate between the front and the back. The back dart is longer than the front dart. So this is the front of my sutana and this is the back. Also on the sleeve, the pleat falls at the back of the sleeve. So this is the back and this is the front. So all you need to do is just to run a test, place the two on each other like so, pin it all around, flip it over and cross check where the front falls to. So if the front of the sleeve falls at the front of the bodice, that means your positioning is correct. But if the front of your sleeve falls at the back of the sutana, it means the positioning is not correct. That means the sleeve is for the other side. So just remove it and attach it to the other side. So this is what I have. Now I just pin this together in order to run a test. So after pinning this is what I have. So with this is my pleat. So can you see this is my pleat? So this means this sleeve is not for this side, it's for the other side. So I will remove it and attach the other one. Now I'm attaching the sleeve together with the bodice to make a complete sutana. After attaching the sleeve, this is what I have. So can you see? So the next step is to finish the side of the sutana, and I'll be turning this to the wrong side. Now I'll be finishing the remaining part of the side of the sutana, and I will start stitching from the point I stopped when I was joining the side of the sleeve together. and I will stitch all through to the underarm point and downward to the side seam. Now I'm done finishing one side of the sutana, and I will be finishing the other side of the camera, and I will be back to show you the final result of our beautiful female 4-corner neckline sutana. This is the final look of our beautiful female sutana with 4-corner neckline. As you can see, the sutana is looking beautiful and neat. I love it, and I'm so happy with the output. This is the back side of the sutana, and this is the front. So this is the sleeve. So this is the front sleeve, and this is the back sleeve. You can see the pleats we have at the back of the sleeve, and this will be finished just as I've explained earlier. So at the side of the sutana we have pockets. This is a pocket, and this is the zipper. So this is the zipper. It's a concealed zipper. We've come to the end of this tutorial. Thank you for following me throughout the process of this video series on how to make a 4-corner neckline female sutana. I want to believe your knowledge has been sharpened and your sewing skill has been upgraded. Feel free to drop all questions at the comment section as regard this video, and I will be so glad to attend to all your questions. Do good by subscribing to my channel if you haven't, and also encourage me by checking out other valuable content I have on my channel, which will be of great help. Till we meet again in my next video, always do remember, there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs.